All right, I think we're on. Here we go. Make sure I can see everything. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Wind Down Wednesday. I'm super excited tonight to talk to CC and Tristan Sutton of Melanated in Mexico.com
Hey,
and residents of Puerto Vallarta. Uh, you know what? I'm getting some feedback. One second. Tell me if you can still hear me.
yep.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check with the audience. Anyway, it was giving me like the feedback of my conversation. Like that's distracting.
So yeah.
Um, so yeah, my intro. So yeah, we're joined by CC and Tristan Sutton of Melanated in Mexico.com. They live in Puerto Vallarta. They've been there for a couple of years. So I'm gonna get a little bit more out and then let them introduce themselves. I'm super excited because I wanted to kind of give some cost comparisons for um, you all that might be interested in Puerto Vallarta versus San Miguel, but also in general, I think it kind of covers a lot of the more popular areas in Mexico, beach and then not beach. So I think that this will, give good insight to everyone on like just, what you're looking at because things are going up. And I'll let you all also talk a little bit about maybe some of the residency costs because I think you posted something, if you have those numbers. I think off the top of my head, I have a general idea of what those numbers look like. And Mexico is on the squeeze out for people who used to come here on a smaller budget. So I think that is important for people to understand, like, hey, if you do want to do it, like, like if you can get that ball rolling each year, it keeps going up, just like go for it and get it processed. Tonight, so we're going to break down, like I said, those real costs of living in both cities and what kind of lifestyle does that budget get you and how do our two cities compare? So you'll have some stuff. So if you are someone who wants to know whatever, get your notebook, write some stuff down, and also make sure you share this channel, make sure you like and all the things for tonight. And I think it's going to be very informative, because people are always looking for general numbers. And I know when I was planning my moves, couldn't find that anywhere, not even online. Most people were talking about vacation of course, and places to visit and all that, but not necessarily numbers and cost of living and things like this. So that will be helpful. I am Michelle Wedderburn. I'm the founder of Casa Elm Boutique Guest House here in San Miguel and also Hacienda Elm, which is our co-living community. So if San Miguel sounds like a place you're interested in, you can short-term stay at my place, or you can short-term stay at Hacienda, which is also my place, but I don't live there. I have to emphasize that because sometimes people come and I think that they think I live there too. I live here at Casa. I can't be in both places full time. I do go out there and stay sometimes. So it is a great way for people to check out San Miguel, even if you're just coming for short term, you don't need your residency. I think if you are considering Mexico long term, like this is a great opportunity with no contract for you to come and try it on and see if it works for you. Try San Miguel, so slow travel, for a month, two or three. Tell your friends, come on over. Anyway, quick housekeeping, and then I'll say hi to who's already in the chat. I want to say thank you always to Ingenuity, Michelle Watson, um, Ingenuity and Spice Company. I'm going to drop that in the chat because she is my official tea sponsor and her stuff is amazing. So if you ever are looking, go to Ingenuity and spicecompany.com to see what she has and some new blends. So let me just drop that over here and then I'll say hi really quick to everyone. There we go. What else did I want to say? Hacienda Elm, I already mentioned that co-living space. Please make sure you visit our page if this is something that's of interest to you. We still have spaces for, I think, May and June. Summer is always a bit slower. Um, okay, so I'll let you all introduce yourself. Welcome. I really, really appreciate you being here tonight to talk to us.
Absolutely.
you
We
go.
appreciate you having us. Again, we're CC and Tristan Sutton, native Houstonians, and now proud residents of Puerto Vallarta here in beautiful Mexico. We are your founders of melanatedinmexico.com, as Michelle
Mhm.
said. We appreciate that, which is essentially a movement and a business that is designed specifically helping African Americans who would love to relocate to Mexico. In our group of about roughly about 7,000
Mhm.
people, we have residents as well as future residents, just helping one another, trying to make this big life transition. Michelle, you know that this is a significant one. And I know for sure when you were looking to do this, there probably wasn't a soul around. And when we were looking to do this, there was hardly any resources specific
Mm.
for us. And
Okay.
so one of our visions of when we got here was immediately let's put something together to make this a much smoother and happier process.
And the clients have been giving us good feedback. They were lost
Mhm.
before they found some of our resources, before they got the call, but we've helped a lot of people get through the immigration process and get their way down to south
Mhm.
of the border. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, it really has. So
I
thank you again
love
for
that.
having us.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm really excited for us to talk about these numbers. But I do have some questions about your just your experience, like, in terms of specifically to people of color, but also like what have you found that people really needed in
Mhm.
this regard?
Well, I would say first they needed to know that you can move to Mexico and have a safe
Mhm.
and thriving life.
Yes.
You can move here and not feel like a Black person. You can move here and have some of the similarities of your own, but the adventure of creating something new and experiencing new things.
Mhm.
Specifically about our services, just being able to point them in exactly what the right direction and avoid those pitfalls and mistakes. Our
Mhm.
clients said that's been invaluable for them.
Yes, and a lot of them come in, initially with, at first we thought that their main concern was going to be the transition of itself, letting mama know and all these things. But really, the things that they're really concerned about is really feeling welcomed into their new space and environment. We
Mhm.
kind of have a history of not feeling so welcomed in other parts of the world. So, they're really doing their due diligence to make sure that they understand, am I going to be able to survive there? What about Spanish? How much do I need of that? Do they really
Right.
want us there? Am I being a gentrifier, a colonizer? Which
Mhm.
is a good sign because what it's basically showing is that we want to come and add value and not feel like we're in a place where we're not welcomed and wanted. And I'm very happy to report back because we have a lot of conversations with locals. Do y'all really want us here? They say y'all like our cousins.
No,
Y'all
I see
y'all get the
primo.
struggle, yeah, we cool. We have the same interests. We're about family, we're about respect, values, music, culture, food. We
Party.
partying, hey, partying.
Yeah.
So we genuinely don't feel like black people here.
Mhm.
Just feel like, everyday people. At the most you might feel every now and then is, Americano or Americana, you
A
might feel that every now
gringo.
and then, but it's nothing malicious. We genuinely feel welcome.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, I think that that's the attraction to most of the cities where there are a lot of foreigners, because that is kind of the core of moving from one place that you may not feel wonderful about living in, but that's where you were raised or that's where a job brought you to, versus going somewhere that you chose to be at and feeling things that maybe you didn't fully experience in other places. So I think that that's important for people to know and understand, especially if they're making those moves.
Absolutely. And we also try to overemphasize, I know what you hear on TV, but you're really going to have to just get up and come experience for yourself
You have to
because
Yes.
fly around and find out.
you're going to have to fly around and find out, as you said,
I love
because
that.
it is it is you quickly find where the truth lies, really
Yeah.
quickly.
Propaganda,
Exactly.
but it's not
Oh
real.
yeah, yeah.
Real
I
is
mean, I just think it's crazy that Mexico gets this, rap on a regular basis. And it's funny because you don't maybe realize how conditioned we are through media and all these types of things until we step outside of it. Now we live here, and I'm very keen on all the things that kind of go on all the time and how they use certain words and catchphrases in movies and movie scripts and TV shows and all in the news. It's always something negative, Mexico. And when you live here, it's like you don't, it's like, oh, wait, I was so afraid of coming and being and all these things until you get to experience it from the other lens. And
Yeah.
then it's like, I'm very like aware of how much it's spoken and it's super negative,
It
Yeah.
unfortunately is. And even the aspects that are true, such as the big C word, as everyone knows, the cartel, it is very much so true. It is very much so a real entity. Even that, I think, in some ways has been exaggerated to make you feel like there's no way you should be moving over there. And I think the best assessment or the fairest thing that we can say is just like there's certain cities and places you wouldn't go in the States, there's certain cities and states you wouldn't go here,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
anywhere, right?
Yeah. Many places. I mean,
There's a part of the Bible where he talks about ignoring the plank in your eye to call up the speck in your brother's eye.
yeah.
Well, when I ask my clients, or when clients ask me about the cartel, I say it's real and it's here, but how many active gangs or threats are you facing every day in the United States? And I always tell them, go to Google and type in this exact phrase. How many active gangs are in the United States? Once again, how many active gangs in the United States? You'll be surprised when it comes up with 33,000 active different gangs
Wow.
there in the United States.
Mhm.
So every day you walk out the door, you're facing threats from KKK, Bloods, Crips, all the different flavors of gangs. Let's not forget that the cartel has grad chapters in the United States. You got the mafia, you got all these other things that you walk out the door and you're looking for them subconsciously. But you see one organization in another country like, oh, bad, don't go. But it's like you just dodged a bullet from the cartel. I mean, the gang members on your street. So it's kind of like
Right.
you just gotta look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I say that too because watching the news in the US, it was like just something to do, right? It didn't affect us. It didn't, someone getting shot in your neighborhood was like, well, if you didn't know them, it was just news. You just heard, you'd be like, oh my gosh, but it wasn't like, oh, I don't want to live here anymore. It was still like, not to trivialize, someone dying or getting shot, but it was just, I just felt like it was more entertainment, information, but we weren't fearful in the same way that I think we've been conditioned to be fearful about being in Mexico.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. And I think even, let me just say this, speaking as people who have gone through a cartel matter,
Yeah, that's
we can
right.
even say even with that, and not only just from our perspective, but even those, who are also melanated that live here in Mexico, we can find one person that was like, that's it, I'm moving back home.
Right, right. I
You're
know
just
I
not going to
wasn't.
find it,
I'm
because it's
going nowhere.
still safer or feels safer than back home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we can touch on that. I'm gonna say hi to the people in the group. Just because I know you were there and you were, actively there the day that they had this, and we can keep it short because, fast news moves real quick, right? And we're on to other things, and then we'll get into cost of living. But I want to say hello to everyone. Hi, Helen. How are you? Thank you. She said the ladies look beautiful. We'll say you look good too. I'm sure she's going to say something. Someone welcome Sammy. Hi, welcome Micah. Hi, Lisa, Khadijah, Cheryl, the quietly elsewhere. She says, hello, Amiga, the Suttons and everyone. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. Lisa said, and what's life in PV like? Seems somewhat touristy, never been, so she's curious.
What was her question? She had a question.
She said that what's the life like in PV, Puerto Vallarta? She said it seems a little bit touristy. She's never been, but she wants to know. She's curious.
Very good question. We talk about this often because we often hear people say, I don't want to live somewhere where it's touristy. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Puerto Vallarta in particular, it is a tourism hub. So what that means is tourism is their main economy, absolutely. And that's how the state of Jalisco, thrives. However, the unique thing about Puerto Vallarta, it feels that Mexican authentic charm. You're right here. Locals are everywhere. It's a nice blend, I would say. The tourists don't overtake the city. Puerto Vallarta is 500,000 people. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a tourism hub,
And
if
there's
you
only
will.
about approximately 40,000 foreigners that live here year round. So
Okay,
very
okay.
small percentage.
Yeah, so you still need to know un poco Spanish out here, you know. So I don't want you to think that if you're in a city that has tourism, then you know you're just going to be surrounded by all these people who don't feel authentic to the place you're in.
It's very authentic.
Yeah,
Right.
there's
Okay.
actually safety in tourism cities. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as
Definitely.
you can understand, the organizations that own some of these buildings have a vested interest in making sure that tourism is
Mhm,
thriving and
mhm.
things of that nature. So
Same.
yes, exactly. So they have literally a vested interest in making sure the tourist hubs don't go through the rigmarole or the propaganda you see
Mhm,
in other cities that have less tourists, and that
mhm,
population may be having its own
mhm,
situation. So typically, tourist hubs like our sanctuary cities, you know, San Miguel, Merida, things like that, there's going to be more infrastructure, more law enforcement, more military there to have a presence to make sure
True.
tourists, foreigners, immigrants are going to be safer. So just keep that in
Mhm.
mind. And when you say I don't want to be around a tourist, that means you're probably going to be a little bit further away from those protections they have in place for tourists.
And we know safety is number one. So you definitely want to be around where there are some people, you
Mhm.
know, speak your language a little bit if that's important to you and that you feel safe.
Right.
Yes.
I think that, yeah, but I think, going to a foreign country, yeah, to start or transition, unless you have excellent, whatever that language is, you
Mhm.
have to be somewhere that feels like, and I say this all the time, my tagline, a soft landing, because otherwise it might be a bit complicated. And doesn't mean there are some people who are very tenacious. Those are adventurers, and they just like, oh, I'm going to make this work, and I want some excitement in my life or whatever. But then there are others who don't necessarily want a giant change from what they're used to or accustomed to. And the language alone is huge. So people, need to kind of consider, yes, those things. And I think that there are plenty of neighborhoods you can live in where it doesn't feel like, you're at a resort every day or the area of a resort every single day.
Be curious where this whole I don't want to be around a tourist thing even came from, because typically you come as a tourist anyway. So why
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
move there, but I don't want to be around tourists? Like, where does that concept even come from? So,
Well, you know what? I'm guilty because I really don't. I mean, and when I say that, I mean, I don't want to do only touristy type things when I travel. That's probably a better clarification. But I love living in San Miguel because it's easy to live in San Miguel. I've been to other cities that are beautiful. Like one of the cities that really, surprised me was Zacatecas. And I was like, this is really cool. But then I realized that even my not so bad Spanish, because of my accent and all that, that people were just, they didn't understand, but they understand me in San Miguel. I was like, I need to go home.
You
What
know,
is
just
the
knowing a
problem?
little bit seems to go so
yes.
far in these areas like San Miguel, where they're used to seeing, immigrants coming
Yeah.
in.
Right.
That's another point. If you move to an area that's local, you talk about feeling strange and odd, not
Mhm.
everybody's used to seeing us.
And or really trying to listen to what we're trying to
Mhm,
say and vice versa.
mhm.
It's been easiest here for me in that regard, for sure.
Either. I
And
could agree.
another thing, for the chat, type amenities in the comment section. When you move to tourist areas, you get amenities.
Yes.
So
That's
you get things
true.
like Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, Home Depot. So now,
Hey, everybody is not happy about that.
And you know what? Here's what
No.
I'll say about that. The fact that everybody's not happy about that. You
yeah.
can have a balance. Like we love to go to the market for our
Mhm.
fresh vegetables, fruits,
Mhm,
like that.
mhm, mhm,
And we like to go to Walmart for, or Sam's stuff for our big bulk
Yeah.
items. So
mhm.
there's a way that the two can
Yeah.
coexist and you can still support one over the other or just do one over the other. Um,
Right.
That's kind of what I really appreciate about Mexico. It's really a good fit for kind of just whatever lifestyle you prefer
Right.
to have.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with that. I mean, I always say you can, if you're, we were saying this earlier, if you're a beach person, there are plenty of beaches, cities that have beaches, places that you can be in a smaller village, a town, and there's a beach. There's so many options. If you want to be in the mountains, there are tons of options for that. If you want to be the Yucatan, Playa, wherever, it's such a big country with so much diversity. If you want to be in a big city, there are plenty of city options. So I think that that alone has become a huge attraction, although we do have our expat or foreign hub heavy places, that there are still a lot of other options for people to go and explore and see if they want to do that and experience those things too. And still with the conveniences, maybe not as many, but definitely not way off either.
I
Yeah,
think our time is spent more productively as we maybe look for things that we're truly looking for and not worried about the rhetoric that we hear so much on a lot of these platforms
yeah,
about colonization, gentrification, all these things that honestly they have a place in the conversation. But like Tristan and I like to say, there's not enough of us moving out here to even be a part of the conversation. Like we're not
yeah.
putting that big of a dent into anything. But what I will say is come with the mindset of wanting to integrate, wanting
Hmm.
to add value,
Hmm.
wanting to be seen as neighborly.
Yes.
If you come with that spirit, like this will be an incredible experience for you. It really, really will, because these people are genuinely kind, welcoming, happy to see you here. They're quite impressed that you left all your fancy amenities back in the US
I
to,
know.
wow, you came here to be here with us. And we just want to thank you for letting
Well,
us come
exactly. Thank you for
stay.
opening the door because we're
Thank
trying to
you.
get out.
We
We've been
just
trying to
got
get out
here.
for a long time.
Thank
Absolutely.
you for having us.
Mhm. I think that that's awesome. Okay, so let's see. What else was being said before we get in? Hmm. Quietly. Okay, Diane, I think she said it's Diana. She says, I follow Melanated in Mexico. They pretty much cover everything. I love it. Great content.
We
Thank
appreciate
you,
you.
sincerely.
Yeah, love it. Helen Michelle is the front thrust behind Black SMA in both guest houses. We are so incredible. Oh, thank you. So incredibly proud of her. I appreciate that, Helen. Oh, I love it. And then Sammy, welcome. There are also Mexicans in Mexico, which is why we are moving to Mexico. Okay. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I personally love the culture of Mexico as well. As you were saying earlier, you've had your travel group, you've traveled worldwide, you've taken people to many places, and you started exploring the option of living abroad and living elsewhere. I'm sorry, I have a train, a couple blocks down. But coming to Mexico was not initially a part of your, plan or idea. Um, for me, I also had all these years of experience coming in and out of Mexico. But when I started researching other countries, it for some reason initially was not like the top of my mind. I was
Right.
kind of like, oh, I don't know, I can go to blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, why? Like, Mexico, you have friends there. You don't know it as much as you know it now. But I mean, at the time, I felt like I actually like it. The people are super nice, just like you said, welcoming, helpful and all the things. And now it's kind of like it's a no-brainer, to be here. And I'm grateful that I was able to come. I say that all the time. I really am grateful. I think being able to travel has really made me appreciate that I had this experience a while ago and then decided, okay, this is where I want to live with my kid and in the discovery of now having more community and how the Mexican people are. I think that that was one of the biggest attractions, not so much all the little things that might drive us a little cuckoo or things that we get to enjoy because they don't cost as much, or
Right.
the creature comforts we talked about, the markets that we get to have fun in and all the things. But the people, I'm sorry, they're just really.
top
Amazing.
tier. I mean, it's incredible to have people who just met you. You know, if you're sitting in the booth, they kind of looking back at you like, "Can I come sit with you? Can we come and
Yeah.
talk? Or can I
Yeah.
take you out to dinner?" Just, I mean, when I tell you, I tell Tristan often, it feels like the early 90s here when
Yeah.
people were present. Like
Before
you
social
don't,
media.
before social media, you don't see all of that around here. Like they're very engaged, very communal all day. It's hola, buenas tardes, you know, just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
spirit of it, you can't help. But I told Tristan, I said, I'm not really sure how anybody can be like angry here, like, like just unhappy with their life, because things are so much more. You're not as hyper vigilant.
Right. Right.
You're not worried about walking around at 10 o'clock at night because everybody's walking around at 10 o'clock at night. You
Right.
know,
Exactly. Family.
the food is better for you.
Yes,
Just the way you're
fresher.
processing things. I mean,
Inflammation goes down, you're not into consuming all those chemicals.
Mhm.
Being from Texas, you know, everybody literally has that pew pew on them. So it feels good to be able to walk around and know not everyone has that. And I don't have
Yeah.
to always watch my six or look around. So just
Yeah.
the freedom to be able to breathe as a black man here has been a blessing.
Absolutely. I think that I hear that a lot from a lot of brothers, you know, and I think as sisters, we understand it, but we may not always have that awareness until it's said, you know, and then you're kind of like, yeah, because, you know, we experience it too, but I think Black men experience it at a higher, you know, higher rate. And I've heard so many people say that here, you know, that they feel more chill, like they don't have to have their head on a swivel all the time. So I think that
But
that's
black
also,
men, I sit with my back to the door at restaurants, so that lets you know anything.
he never did that back in Houston. Boy, he'd be like, get up, you know, that's my seat.
Keep my eyes on everything going around.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're conditioned. That's the way we've been conditioned,
Yes.
unfortunately. It's sad. So I hope we get to our list because let me see.
Oh,
Let's see here. I appreciate everyone here. Thank you all so much. Is Puerto Vallarta still? Okay, question is Puerto Vallarta still very green in some parts? Yeah, it looks pretty green. It's very lush in Puerto Vallarta.
yeah, there's jungle here, all
Yes.
from one end to the other. We're wrapped around the mountains. So the Sierra Madre Mountain. So like
Okay, yeah.
get off at the airport, you see mountains. And you drive all the way,
Mhm.
you'll see grass. So,
Just so you know, the Sierra Madres is here too. That's how extensive it is. So people can I really understand like, and we're talking about the mountains, the mountain peaks and ranges. Like you can see them from so many parts in Mexico. It's beautiful.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
didn't know it's stretched that far.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely still very jungly.
Mhm.
I don't know if maybe that question came from they know that there's been a lot of development around here because there has been, but
A lot of what? I missed that.
development.
So
Oh, okay.
by the water, there are a lot of towers going up, condos and
Mhm.
apartments. But
Okay.
back in the mountains, that's pretty much pretty much
o-
established. So there's just
Okay.
miles of greenery.
Yeah, it's definitely a city, modern, you know, more modern. A lot of the amenities, as you mentioned before, definitely sky rises. Because here in San Miguel, like our immediate area, they can't build any structure above 3 feet. I mean, 3 stories, not 3 feet, 3 stories.
Because of UNESCO.
Yeah, even the hotels. So what the hotels will do is each ceiling is like really way up and you know, so they'll do that so when you get to the top floor, you have a view of the city. Yeah,
There's always a way.
Smart.
There's
I
always
know, right? Yeah, there's always a way. Let's see, what else do we have? Welcome, welcome. Okay, Diane. Hi, Diane. Helen said, I spent a weekend in Puerto Vallarta at a hotel on the Malecon.
Mhm.
She said she was incredibly pleased to see how many folks spoke English there and it was easy to navigate. She said, can you share your perspective?
Absolutely. We would agree. You
Yeah, I
know,
haven't
I'm trying
stayed
to
on
think
that.
down when we haven't stayed on the Malecon, but she
Yeah.
makes a very good point. So the Malecon is just the main boardwalk where everything's happening. Great
Mhm,
food, restaurants, nightclubs. It's, you know, very much so a tourism spot. But I will also say that it's for the locals too. Like this is a hodgepodge because every night it's around about 7 p.m. 6 p.m.
Yeah.
They out there at that market, they dancing, having a good
Yeah.
time. The kiddos are out and about, the families. So it's a shared space. But she's right. There are a lot of people there because this is a tourism hub. You will find Mexicans here who speak some English and some who speak it very well, but then you'll have some who don't speak it at all. So that's why we're like, there's certain pockets,
And that's where the Google Translator app comes from.
Oh yeah, good to have that. You need that. So I know. What did we do like 15 years ago, 10 years ago? No, really, like
Struggle.
just point at things. Yeah, struggle. Buy like the travel guides for the basic
True.
things of that country.
Or just
Yeah.
pretended like we knew.
Right. Or go to a restaurant where they have pictures of meals, of the dishes. You're like, okay, yeah, what animal is this? Yeah, that's so funny. But definitely Google helps a ton. All right, let's see. Someone said they were in Puerto Vallarta in February, and I couldn't agree more. I felt safe and tourist locals and merchants were very friendly. Puerto Vallarta is a beautiful place as well as San Miguel.
Yeah.
Gracias, we appreciate you. Angela, welcome. Mexico City is one of my favorite places on the planet. Since I like CDMX so much, where else in Mexico should I check out? Puerto Vallarta.
Right. It sounds like though she's a big city girl. If she's trying to keep that same energy, possibly Guadalajara.
Yeah.
But
Querétaro.
yes, because you said that's what, how many people did you say? 2 million?
A million.
Over a million. I think it's over a mil something.
Yeah. EV is around 588,000, give or take.
Okay.
Some would say Playa. So Playa, PV, San Miguel, of course. But if you're not looking for that big city feel, San Miguel. But Mexico City, like you said, Guadalajara.
If you want that heat, go to Merida.
Ooh.
Merida. Okay, yeah. I haven't been to Merida. What? Oh, okay.
Well,
I
we
haven't
understand
either.
it's pretty toasty, pretty warm, but a lot of people love it. It actually has one of the largest Black immigrant communities. So especially for children, if you have children, school age, they have a lot of things going on for children as well. So it's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely visit. It was on my list, but I never actually made it there. Well, I had already been in San Miguel, but when I came back to research San Miguel, it was from a different perspective. And it was because I had a kid and I was kind of like, okay, where do I want to be? And that was an attraction in terms of the family vibes as well. But Merida was kind of one of the suggestions that one of my Mexican friends gave me, and I just never actually went. I was just like, well, I'm moving from Florida. I love the heat, but I definitely don't need it to be hotter than Florida. So, and it's not really on the beach. It's Progreso is, I think, the closest beach. So I was kind of like, I'm good with being in the mountains after living, in South Florida for over 10 years. So yeah.
But when it comes to cost of living, it sounds like Merida definitely. Boy, they be winning over there.
Nice.
I have heard. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of places have increased over the years, but I think it's still a very viable, affordable option. So, and we will get to our numbers shortly. Someone said, I'm incredibly proud of President Scheinbaum. Hi, Helen. That's Helen. I heard that she's instituting free medical care for all residents in the near future. I think that's implementing in 2027. What that looks like will be interesting because I've seen perspectives from Mexicans and they are just like very dismissive of this new thing. But their perspective is coming from being a business owner. So we'll see. I guess, this will unfold over the next coming months. I still think it's a good move for the people of Mexico in the right direction, no matter, even if it takes time for it to be tweaked, it's like, okay, well, it is an actual offer, unlike what we have, which is nada. Khadijah said, how are the beaches in Puerto Vallarta?
Beautiful.
They're
They're
lovely, clean,
Public.
public. Yes, public. None of them are private.
Okay.
Some people describe them certain times of year being a little bit cooler, the water being a little bit
Yes.
cooler, probably around
Okay.
about December to April, probably. But child, May, June, July through October,
We outside
we outside.
in the water.
Okay.
There's not a big
Okay.
sargassum problem either, and unlike
Yeah.
Cabo, we have swimmable beaches. So
Yeah.
that's what.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Hi, Gloria. Welcome. I haven't spoke to you for so long. Oh, thank you. She says you're the best, and I have great memories there in SMA. I'm only reading these out, not to put a big crown on my head, but people who are watching, I've had some subscribers say that when they're watching on their TV, they can't see the little chat. They can only see us talking. So
Oh.
I'm trying to kind of read it. And no, I don't have StreamYard.
No
I just don't. I tried using that and I just like, okay. Let's see what else. Hi. Um, let's see, anything else? Okay, someone said living with the constant fear of ICE and other criminals in the United States is extremely palatable. Mexico is heaven compared to this place. You know, I have to agree. I really, really I enjoy. I really do. I think Mexico has been one of the few places where when I went or when I go on vacation that I actually want to go home. Back in the day, corporate days, traveling, living in Connecticut, living in Texas, I always was like, you have that feeling. You're like, oh, I wish I could stay here longer. And when I moved here, I actually had many of times where I was like, I can't wait to get back home. Home feels like a vacation. And, it was just an opposite thing, especially when you choose that place and it feels good to you, not like a circumstance or what we were saying earlier, I grew up here or my parents were here and, this is what my job is, as opposed to I researched these different places and chose these. And I decided on this one, and it was a choice. It makes you feel good when you get to go back to it.
Yes, it's just a simpler way of life. And I don't think how much we realize how complicated our lives can be. It's not everybody, but a lot of us had some pretty complicated lives back in the States, everything, the hypervigilance. I was telling my neighbor, I said, I felt like my brain never went to sleep. It was always something that you had to be. And Tristan and I still work. We are not anywhere close to retirement, but but even working here doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Side variables, things like that.
Yeah, because you get to choose, and it's nice, I think, to be a part of something positive, right? To help people also experience the things that you feel so good about. I think that that's one of the joys of it. Okay, we're getting a lot of questions. Someone said, oh, hi, Helen. Curious about visiting Guadalajara. Can you share your overall perspective? Have you been to Guadalajara?
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Um, I think it's also another amazing city. And it's like still in the state of Jalisco, right? And if you're looking to kind of be a little more anonymous, it's definitely a bigger city than San Miguel. Definitely a lot to see, do. I think structurally it looks really nice in general, but much bigger. I don't remember it being as charming as where I live, but I still think it's a great option. That's my perspective. Now, is it a place I personally would go and live? No, I probably wouldn't. And that's just because I, I like all the colors of San Miguel, and I didn't feel like I like the vibrant colors that are here. And when I say vibrant, they're still very earthy. So for me, I was kind of like, okay, I love going there. I love to visit. It was another city, definitely warmer than San Miguel. Really nice I forgot what's the little town. I want to say Tisquisquiapan, but it's not that. Anyway, it's like a little area in the city that has like a lot of charm as well. So that would be my perspective about Guadalajara. Let's see. Merida's hot. Yes, it is. Even without it, I find the medical care here is without question better than the US. Oh, okay. Okay. Beaches are extremely deep, right? Bring the Pacific and all. Okay. Uh, Diane said the chat is on the television. Oh, someone told me it wasn't on the chat. It's kind of tricky to find it. Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe that person just didn't find it. Sorry, my dogs. Let's see. No, sorry for the, hold on a second.
You can't hear your dogs.
You can't, okay, perfect. Okay. They must have seen something in the back. Okay, so sorry for the confusion when you see, okay, got it. All right, let's see. Zerubbabel. San Miguel is like living in a painting. Oh, I love that. Yeah, San Miguel is magic. Yeah, we love Mexico. You got it. All right, let's get into our numbers. They're like, okay, anything else? What happened to the topic? All right, let's get into it. For someone considering moving to PV, what is the realistic monthly budget to live comfortably? Or you could do maybe like a low, medium, high, whatever is easiest for you.
Your thoughts?
You know, I would say if we're taking it from a single person's perspective, let's just keep it clean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like to say here in Puerto Vallarta, you can live it how you call
Yeah,
it.
you got options.
You really, really do. But just know this, the name of the game is the closer to the water you get, the more dinero you're gonna be putting
And
out.
you get what you pay for.
And you get what you pay for, sincerely. But here's what I will say, compared to most major US cities like Houston, I mean, I believe that you get so much bang for your buck. Like, for example, you could get a one bedroom apartment. It may maybe 900, 800 on the local feel end.
Yes.
So local feel
Not
meaning,
modern, not the amenities, no built, no rooftop pool, inside gym, restaurant in the building. So if you want to be in the mountains,
yeah,
local
you like the local feel, the
Yeah.
mercado, the little. Let me tell you something. Mexico is one big party, okay? Especially here in Puerto Vallarta. It is always some fireworks going on every night. Like, if you're considering moving here, number one, please be sure you understand that this is a lively town.
And that's
Right.
so
Fireworks.
Their
music.
culture, fireworks. They love their dogs, so them dogs
Mhm.
might be,
they're gonna be everywhere.
you know,
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
lively. But so if you're up there, maybe about 800 or so to 1,000. Then as you come down from off the mountains a little bit, you can get, let's say if you want something looking at the water, one bedroom, in a condo,
Mhm.
you can maybe spend anywhere between starting about 1,500
USD.
Okay.
USD, 1,500 USD,
Mhm.
upwards to maybe about two easily. Now, if you're spending like two, I mean, you got something nice. That means you have a rooftop pool. That means you have a gym. You have 24-hour, probably a two-bedroom, 24-hour security, fully furnished. The only thing that you really have to worry about with a lot of apartments here in Puerto Vallarta, most of them come fully furnished.
Okay.
And it's just electricity that you're going to be.
So your other utilities, your gas, your water,
internet,
cable, that's going to be handled by the landlord. So literally, you just have to come out of pocket every 2 months for the electric bill.
Okay. So they don't normally include electricity probably because you have to use a lot of it, right? Okay.
Well, so that's a good point. Absolutely. They don't, because it can fluctuate depending on whoever's trying to stay here. I would say you are going to want to come down here and use that AC like you do in the States, and that bill is going to be.
God.
So
Yeah.
you're going to learn how to use the Mexican AC, which is you opening up your windows and your doors and letting that vortex come through a little
And a
bit.
fan.
You're going to learn how to maybe close the doors to rooms that you're not in and let the AC, circulate and fill up. Then you're gonna get real creative. You're gonna
Yeah.
get so creative. But if you need it, it's there for you to run. And it runs real good and cold.
It's all right.
Oh, it's on. You said it's on right now. Okay. I love it. I love it. Yeah, when I went, so I told you I was there in Nuevo Vallarta, which is close to Puerto Vallarta. But the second time was in the summer. I think it was in July, and it was super hot. But I remember the owner of the place that we rented was kind of like, don't run it all day and this and that. And he's gotten big bills like
Yes.
crazy. And
Yes.
I'm like, well, that is kind of a luxury. And especially here, I do think utilities can go up like skyrocket because every now and then I'll get a big fat bill because I was running the heaters because I need, we need heat. You guys need AC.
Wow.
So yeah, like in the cooler months, and I say cooler, we don't
Look,
get
we're looking over
snow.
here. I don't even think this thing has heat
Yeah,
as an option.
Oh yeah, no, probably not. I mean, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, the split that you have, if that's what you have. But we have I have plugins, because it does get cold enough, in December, November, January. Yeah. And so whenever that happens, and if it's running a lot, guests are cold, of course, I'm not going to be like, can you turn that off? Um, can you get under a double blanket? So people, end up getting like a bill that's not norm for them. Sometimes like I remember one year my bill went from like around 500 pesos. And I was running my space heaters that were 220 volt, and they don't have 220. That's like not their norm here. I think it's 110 to
Mhm.
120 here. And my bill went up to like 6,000 pesos, right? 500 to 6,000 pesos in that 2 month, time frame. So
That'll do it. My
Mhm.
highest one has been, look, I'm sitting here looking at it right now, Lou.
Yeah.
My highest one has been, and again, this is 2 months. So 4,225 pesos, which is $243 USD for
Mm-hmm.
2 months, which is about 121 a month.
And
And that was
that's
at the
not
height of,
bad.
so it's not, that's at the heat October. And then the lowest bill has been like 23 bucks a month. So like, you
Okay.
know,
yeah,
you get a little reprieve around here during about the December to April timeframe. You don't have to run the AC half as
as
much.
many days.
Okay.
See, oh, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
said December till April. So you get like 4 to 5 months where you don't really
Mhm.
need to run it. Okay, that's not
Mhm.
bad. That's kind of
Mhm.
like how it was in Florida.
Mhm.
We were able to open our windows at night and,
Yes.
maybe if you're out during the day, then of course you're in your car. It's not a big deal. So okay. Let's see. More questions. Have you considered visiting Mexico City or Querétaro? They have some of I guess those are some of her favorite cities. Yes,
Checking them
and
out.
yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the Suttons have not been in Mexico as long, but they are making their way around, right? And they're going to, I have been to those two places and I actually really, really love Mexico City. It's just a lot to take on. And I think if you pick one of the cool neighborhoods, because they have plenty of them, not just the popular ones, that you don't have to really unless you work, you don't have to really move around that much to get access to the things that you need. It's a city, right? And Querétaro, for me, is not a place that I would want to live. Uh, and I'll tell you why, in short. It's because the suburbs remind me too much of the United States,
Ooh,
and the center is not as pretty as where I already live. That's it in a nutshell.
good assessment.
Nothing
Makes sense.
else. Yeah. Now, it's not bad. It's not anything. It does have all the conveniences. So I think, as we were saying before, if you're someone who comes from a big city, then you might need, maybe San Miguel is too much of a smaller city. So I'll also talk a little bit about like the cost in terms of rent. I think it's around the same, to be honest, like one bedroom on the lower side, you can get for probably around 500 US right now. That would be fully furnished.
Annie.
Maybe, again, it's not going to be in the best neighborhood. It might be in a local neighborhood, which nothing wrong with that either.
Oh, some people prefer it.
Yeah, I just tell people make sure you go there at different times of the day, night, if necessary, and make sure you really kind of understand where you're moving to. Make sure you talk to people in that neighborhood, talk to the realtor, make sure they're not just trying to push you, like so they can hurry up and wrap up the deal. You want to make sure that they understand your comfort zone, and you also need to understand what you're most comfortable with. I always tell people when you move here, know yourself, right? And that's across the board. Like know who you are in terms of how durable are you for this transition, right? You know, because there will be days when it feels like somebody bonked you over your head. When, you know, remember those little things the kid would like
Yeah,
try to
little
pick
rockabye.
up? Yeah, it was like, you know, you'll have days like that where you just kind of like, you know, this is frustrating. I think opening yourself to the experience is really important. I say it all the time. But cost in that regard usually will include the same things. It will already include electricity. It will already include water. It may or may not include propane. So I feel like our propane is going to be what it might be for the electricity because they don't have AC units here and they don't really provide heaters either. You would have to buy your own. And a lot of the heaters that are available are just like the coil ones,
Mm.
not so much the, well, they do have the push air ones, but I think the coil ones are more popular and it does preserve a little bit more on electricity.
You said no
Um,
AC units, but do they do like ceiling fans, window
oh
fans?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I have my ceiling fans throughout the house, and honestly, it's enough. It
Yeah.
really is enough for the for year round. Um, I don't feel that it really drives up the cost. You know, you can buy the ones that are like more energy efficient and things like that. I haven't ever felt like me running the ceiling fans made a huge change in my my bills. The heater, yes, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Like if you rent a place in San Miguel, let's say it's significantly larger, you know, they have a lot of times the built-in fireplaces which are usually a gas kit. You have to connect like a gas fireplace kit to it to warm it up. And that's going to be a lower cost for you versus heaters in each room that are plugged into the electricity. Electricity is just more expensive all around here. And definitely in places where it's hot. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, because you could get like, what'd you say? What was your lowest bill you said was
My lowest bill was 121.
okay, 121 US,
The
which would
23.
be 23, 2005.
Oh, my lowest, I'm sorry, my lowest bill was 23 a month. I'm sorry, USD. My highest was 121. Mhm.
Okay, okay. So people, you know, like would understand that it's still not bad, you know,
No,
because I think in Florida I was averaging, and this was over, you know, 8, 9 years ago, maybe 150 a
yeah,
month. I
yeah,
don't know what it was in, you know, the US where you all were, but
yeah, about the same. Mhm.
yeah, it was about
Maybe
150.
80s, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that that's probably a utility that would be familiar to
Yes,
us, not to a local person. So just again, things to consider if you decide to live somewhere where it's much warmer and you need those, you know, appliances in your house. I mean, there are a few people that I know here that installed AC units. A lot of the houses aren't even equipped for them, the older homes, or maybe a more like, you know, uh, home that was built uh, like architecturally following a Spanish colonial design probably won't have hookups for a mini split,
right.
you know,
Right.
but if you move into like a townhouse, you know, one of those developments that are a bit more modern, most of them have the setup. They won't have the actual unit, but they will have like the connections and things like that. Because I lived in a place that it was available. Yeah. Okay. Let me see what else, and then we're still going to get into our other numbers. How's the overall crime statistics in PV and homelessness? It's a good
Oh,
question.
very
No
good
one's asked about the
question. Yeah,
homelessness.
no one's ever asked about the
I don't
homelessness.
see it often here. I think in about the year we've been here, I've probably seen 2 or 3 homeless people.
That's about it.
Yeah.
City.
Do you?
It's hard. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the ones that are or have that you've seen, has it been like kind of just in a certain area,
You
like in
know,
Central?
it's been pretty spread
You got the
out.
bag lady at the bus stop.
Yes, and then you have the guy that's on the Melacon. And these people, one thing about the culture here, it's very family-like. So what I sense when I do see people who are homeless, they do seem to be a bit detached, you
Okay.
will, and there may be some mental challenges there. And I
Mhm.
said that to say it's probably by design that they don't have a lot of homeless people because everybody's family around here is like, ain't
True.
nobody about to be on the street unless they want to be or having some challenges. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I understand.
literally, I would say probably about 3.
Okay, okay. That's a
Yeah.
good question.
Mhm.
I think I've seen,
Mhm.
can't say homeless, because I see this person who looks also like there's some mental challenges. And I think, during the day they're out, because I've never seen someone like laying or sleeping around like on
Right.
benches or on the ground and things like that. I think what happens is, some individuals are just out and about in town. And it's just like they wander and then they go back wherever it is that they live. So also not something we see here. So I think that that's also um, it's a good question because I don't get that. People
Because
don't ask me that a
it's
lot.
rampant in Houston. So
Yeah,
you
it's
can't go on
very
the street
rampant.
corner without seeing
Ooh,
the
rapid
neighborhood
period.
Goodness. And as far as crime is concerned here in Puerto Vallarta, I mean, I
Not familiar with it. It happens, but for what we
Mhm.
hear about as far as the residents, immigrants, there's not much. But it's not perfect. It's like any other city. So there's gonna be pickpocketing. If you leave your phone on the table, they may grab that, things like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
and
but I
like
think that will happen.
senselessness, like senseless
Yeah.
things that happen like in a lot of major urban cities where you don't even feel comfortable going to the movies or to church or to the gas station, those kind of
It's way
Yeah.
safer than like a Dallas.
big.
Okay.
And I'll say, I don't know about in San Miguel, but they have a military presence, not
Mm.
every day, but I think we see it peak up a little bit more, maybe around tourism, high tourism season. But you don't feel threatened by, in fact, you feel safer
Mhm.
because you know they're not there, they're not worried about you, they're worried about people who may not be doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it keeps a lot of the riffraff away, if you will.
Right, right. And also, I think in general, I've not been to group events where it felt like people were rowdy and out of control or too drunk,
Like
or
that.
I'm sure there are some things like, maybe concerts and stuff where people are a bit younger, different demographic or age bracket. But I've been in Central, there are festivals because they're very festive in this country. And yes, same. We'll have the military presence, the police, and all of that stuff, but it's very calm. Like the energy is pretty calm. And I can appreciate that, because I was very nervous about going out to 4th of July type events in Florida because there were always some random shooter somewhere. And I was always kind of like, could be today in this place. I don't know. I remember that several years ago, the guy who was shooting at the concert goers from the hotel. I mean, like a
Yes,
whole, it's just crazy. So, and I have to say this, in all transparency, there was a shooting in Mexico City at one of their very popular tourist places. And I always get the name wrong. It's Teal. Do you know how to say it?
I haven't tried.
Teal.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Tourist attraction, the pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramids. Okay. It's about an hour outside of Mexico. Okay, it's on my brain. I'm gonna look it up. It's about an hour outside of Mexico City, and it's a very popular place. People climb, and there was a shooter there, an active shooter there. Was it yesterday or the day before?
A couple of days ago, yeah.
I think it was 2 days ago. And it was a Mexican who went to halfway on the pyramid and literally started to shoot. And you know what? Okay, okay, thank you for sharing that, but I still don't know how to say it. Teotihuacan, I think. I'm probably getting that wrong. And I know you can't help me in the chat because I can't hear you. But that place. But yeah, one Canadian tourist died, and I think several were injured, and then others were injured from trying to get down. So, just in full transparency, that is so unusual for Mexico. Not to say, it can't happen or it won't happen in the future, whatever, God forbid. But, that's the world, unfortunately, that we live in. And apparently, I'm not going to blame it on the US, but that person had written a bunch of things and did it to the date of the Columbine and made comments about Columbine from 20 years ago. And also some other like Hitler following, and this is a Mexican. So I have no idea what the backstory is on this, but it did happen. And, you know, I think as you were saying earlier, Tristan, that we still have to,
So have
you
to be
know, kind
vigilant.
of
Not hyper vigilant, but we have to be aware.
aware
Like we
yourself.
say, however you were in Houston, keep that up. Like, you know, every
Because,
now and then check around, you
Because you know
know.
you hear about that, and it's unfortunate for the Canadian and those that were injured. But you'll hear in Houston within the last 6 months, they've had 30 bodies show up in a bayou. They won't call it a serial killer.
Oh my God, that's straight
And
up
that
serial
bayou was
killer.
probably 5 minutes away from our front door of our house. So, you know, it's like you
Wow.
can look at things like that, like, oh, there's a serial killer loose in Houston. Oh, but what about that shooter in Mexico?
I'm not going to Mexico.
I'm not going to Mexico. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Quick question in the comments: how many of you all feel safe going to the gas station by yourself?
Now, see, that was my problem.
How many women? That's, yeah.
Not comfortable with that back in Houston. Towards the
Yeah.
end, it's just when you're to a place where you're literally, you know, zipping from point A back to your house and letting the garage door
Yes.
down, and as soon as you're in there and locking the doors, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
it's
I was always like, you know, thinking about these things, especially if I went out when I was much younger. If I went out at night, you know, I had to go back to my car. I always made sure I parked in places where it was well lit, you know, just the things that are extra. It's not that I still have that with me because I
Sure.
live here. But I've definitely felt more at ease moving around the country for the most part. I think for me, what would give me pause is, you know, if there were a situation, not being able to fully explain myself. My Spanish is pretty good. It actually gets really good when I get pissed off.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's really like
starts
the words.
flowing. It starts
Maybe
flowing.
it's just the way I feel. Maybe I think it sounds good. I don't know. The words come to me a little bit faster. And it could just be, you know, because you're tense and you're like, okay, I gotta explain myself or whatever. But I have felt really comfortable navigating the country. You know, I take a bus. Like last week, I won't even get into that story. But on my way back home, I was out of the country, and on my way back, I landed in the San Felipe or Felipe Angeles Airport, which is also in Mexico City, but not the Mexico City airport. And it is nice. Okay, it's pretty new. It's 3 years old. And just the way they did it, it is immaculate. I thought I was in Japan. I was like, okay, they got clean bathrooms and stuff like that. But the point is that, you know, it was so easy for me to like land there. I went downstairs. I got my bus ticket to Querétaro, and everything just kind of, you know, flowed. They made one stop, and the bus was nice. You know, it's like, and like as I was sitting on the bus with me and only one other person and the driver, I literally said to myself, like, it's easy to get around here and it's nice, you know. And I think that that image we get initially when we come, this, you know, we're a little bit like scared to move around initially, right? It takes a little time. We start to loosen up and we get more and more comfortable. But it really is overall a safe country to navigate and get around in. Again, they have their problems. Don't be fooled. They definitely have their problems, but a lot of times it feels like it's a, you know, a person to person kind of thing, or a clash with the government or a protest.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But from the day-to-day basis, we don't feel that. There's not 300 mass school shootings, you know, it's movies, churches, grocery stores being shot up.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Someone gave me the spelling, I mean, the pronunciation for the phonetics. Okay. Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan. I think I said that right. Fall girl. Thank you. Ask me in 5 minutes. It's gonna be a dud. Blame it on the US. Someone said copycat criminals. Hi, Lisa. Each time I've been to SMA, I always feel safer than I feel in the US. I will still remain cautious just as I would in the States. Absolutely. We all have to be. Helen, again, I feel safer in Mexico any day.
Mm.
Yeah. Lisa said, heard that guy was from Canada. Supposedly, yes. My brother is in Canada, Cancun, for a wedding, and they're not going to see the Mayan ruins now because of the incident. That's sad. That's too bad. Yeah, that's too bad. They probably are going to go to, what is it called? Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
Yeah, yeah, they probably were going to go there. Yeah, all right, let's get, yeah, Chichen Itza. But that wasn't the one that they had the problem at.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was the one that I just pronounced. Told you, I forgot already. Have to look at it. Okay, so you gave us some numbers. What are the biggest cost differences do you feel in renting groceries, healthcare, transportation, entertainment?
We've shaved a lot of expenses down. I mean, we
It's
don't
about like
have,
60%.
yeah, so no car note, no
Mhm.
car insurance, no maintenance, no gas.
Mhm.
We walk everywhere. Uber's only $5. The groceries probably what, 150 a week?
Yeah, maybe about 150.
150 a week, but that's a basket full, not 4 bags.
Right.
Our health
Okay.
insurance used to cost us what combined 1,200.
Yeah, it was about 1,200 back in the States for the two of us
Yeah,
a
now we
month.
spend approximately $300 a month total for the comparable.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
we haven't had to use it yet. When we go to the doctor, dentist,
Mhm.
specialties, we only had to come out of pocket 55, $65. So
Dental cleanings, 50
yeah,
bucks.
50 bucks.
Mhm.
Mammogram visits, things like that. We have to do your test. I'd say that was probably around about 100 to run the test that they ran.
Right.
But things are so reasonable. Like you said, we haven't had to do co-pays and things like that. It's a little different here because things are so nominal that it's like you don't need to put
You
that in.
just you pay for it, right? But it's still good to have the insurance, for people. I mean, maybe initially you might be like, oh, okay, let me get settled, let me do whatever.
Ooh,
But things can add up if you have
yes,
a major
yes,
thing in that regard. And
yes.
that's one of the things too that, I expressed in our relocation tours as well. Like eventually you should get insurance like soon and make sure you're
Absolutely.
covered for any emergencies, even if you have coverage in the United States as well. I think that that's really something that I think sometimes gets overlooked. People don't do right away. But you're right about not having even just the cost of a car, you know, uh, and I have a car and I pay full coverage on my, way back Honda, but I love my Honda. It runs really well. It's made for Mexico, and I pay about 300 a year for full coverage on my vehicle with I'm sure I know I have a deductible, but it's about 300 for the whole year.
Incredible.
So
That's how much we were paying a
A
month
month,
for
yeah.
sure
yeah,
back in the States.
exactly.
With liability.
Well, how much is gas like, per gallon range?
Gas is expensive. I did the math the other day. I think it's like 550 a gallon ish because they do liters here. So it seems like it's not a lot because it'll say like, 30 pesos a liter,
Mhm.
but then that times four there you or yeah. So it really does cost a lot more. I don't say 30, this is 30, it's more than that, but I can't remember, but I did the math the other day and it was somewhere between, I think, 450 to $6 a gallon ish. But I'll say this, it might be more now, but it's always been more expensive here. What I think saves me is that my distances are so much shorter than they were when I lived in South
Mhm.
Florida. Yeah.
You're not
Mhm.
probably putting 12,000 miles a year in your car. So
No, I'm not.
yeah.
Yeah. And when I do travel, I just anticipate, okay,
Budget.
it's gonna be this. Yeah. I think it cost me, I usually do half a tank. But if I were to fill my tank, because a few months ago I took Micah to Hidalgo and it was like about 3 to 4 hours away from here. And it was somewhere around 65 to $70, I think, to fill it up, but it wasn't even fully empty. Yeah, I think
It
something
goes a
like
long
that.
way because it's
Yeah.
not, you don't have a long way to go.
We'll have a long way to go. We'll find.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, and it took me to Dolores Hidalgo and then I filled up when I came back and we were driving around for a few days. And it was a little bit more reasonable there. So I will say this, if you go to states that are less touristy, or no tourists or no foreigners, because there's always tourists. There, believe it or not, Mexicans travel a lot within their own country because
Yes,
there's
Yes,
so
they
much to
do.
they
see here.
do. Yes,
They
Yeah,
they do.
do.
And if I can add, Puerto Vallarta seems to be the headquarters because I'm just
Yeah, a
like,
lot of nationals come
woo,
through.
a lot of nationals come.
yeah.
I think that's beautiful because you don't have to go anywhere. Everything's beautiful.
Yeah, I want to say, I feel like Mexico, except for the touristy places, right? We're going to talk about like Cancun's and, of course, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo. We know we love these places. They're beautiful. They're definitely made to attract us. But I still feel like Mexico is still a best kept secret
Agree.
because people don't understand, one, how big it is
Mhm.
and how many like different landscapes there are to see and enjoy. I love the beach, but I'm a mountain person. I love the mountains. I love vast places. I like train rides through the mountains, things like this. And Mexico really offers so much of these things. And I think that people don't understand that. I think they see it kind of as they would see the Caribbean, right?
Right.
The water and all that. Nothing wrong with that. But even beach options, there's so many options here, right? And people need to probably take, the time to explore them. I mean, for me, beaches, Cancun's lovely, or the Yucatan is very lovely. But I would say I think my favorite beaches are for sure in Oaxaca. It's less developed and it's more natural. It's really pretty. It's not, it's crowded and crazy in certain places. Now, of course, there's Oaxaca City that's up in the mountains. But if you go down to the coast, you're going to see beautiful beaches, very uninhabited places as well. I think they also don't allow buildings above 3 stories.
Hmm.
So you're not going to see a lot of sky rises and, and that. But yeah, Puerto Vallarta, um, where else? Uh, Mazatlan on the West Coast is also a really popular beach place as well. Really nice. So definitely something to check out.
Your point about Mexico being a great place for people to immigrate to, I still feel like it's Mexico versus everybody. I think it's the best place for you
Hmm.
to start. So I put it
Yeah.
as Portugal, Thailand, Ghana, all the
Yeah.
popular expat places, Europe, because you have the proximity. At this big age where we all have something where we might need to get home for, like
Right.
from
Right.
flight, for
Exactly.
instance, 9, 12, 16 hours when you cross the Atlantic. Uh,
Exactly.
Language. A lot of places speak English, or it's easy to navigate. The cost of
Mhm.
living, or we call geo arbitrage, where your U.S. dollar can go further. So
Right.
the culture, I would put Mexico up against a lot of other places.
Absolutely.
I would too. And when you've traveled, what you have, you can say that,
Yeah,
you know, um, you can definitely, say it fairly, like, okay, because like for me, I think one of the things that I didn't know initially when I first started coming here. I was in the more rural like areas and places, visiting those places. I didn't really know much about Mexico City. And when I went there, I remember thinking a whole bunch of stereotypes started to drop away from my thoughts, right? And I'm sure the same for you going to Puerto Vallarta. It's sort of like, oh, it feels very familiar, it feels easy and things like that. And I think that that is the attraction that Mexico has created for its populations in different places. Yes, it is gentrification. It happens around the world.
Around
And I
the
think,
world. Hold on. Can you
yeah,
pause right there?
yeah,
Because
go for it.
we talk about this all the time because we're like, people are really arguing a mute point. This is a
Mhm.
global globe. Like the
Mhm.
minute they made airplanes, gentrification started happening, you know? So
visas, green
visa,
cards. It's been
yes.
established for governments to allow foreigners to come live in their country. So
Right,
Absolutely. And so while yes, here on planet Earth, things are not always fair, there are some things there that are legitimate concerns wrapped up in there. I think we need to understand that this just isn't a Mexico issue. It's going on in
right.
Houston.
yeah,
I'm sure it was going on in Florida,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
you
absolutely. I mean, if remember when Florida used to be like the retirement spot?
Yeah.
yes.
You can't do that in Miami. It's like,
Yeah.
high end, still kind of the South, but it's really, really pricey to live there. They have beautiful skyscraper apartments too, and things like that. It's changed a lot. I remember in the 80s, my father lived in Tampa, and it was extremely affordable to get a home and all that. So I think that it's just something that we all have to deal with. We live with, and I don't say it in a way of destroying or, being less mindful of the culture and things like that. I think coming in with that awareness is important. And also, I always say, do your research, don't overpay just because, but go ahead.
People talk about gentrification, they say, well, what happens is foreigners come into a neighborhood, cause the price of housing go up and outplacing locals. Pregunta or question, who charges the prices? Who sets the prices?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Who
local,
owns it?
who owns it? And that's so now it's more of a government and national issue versus a foreigner, because of course, when we come to San Miguel or PV, we're like, where's the most affordable, cheapest rent I can get? Yeah, we're not saying, hey, I'm new here. I want to spend the most money I can,
Drive up the price.
drive up the price and get everyone away from me. We're not saying that. But who
Right.
sets the price? The owners, the landlords.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
And they will, yeah, and they'll do it according to, what they are kind of seeing counterparts do. And there's really no set thing. I tell people that a lot, that there's no real set thing or number, because I've had people over the years say to me, San Miguel is super expensive. San Miguel is expensive. And I'm like, not really. They have places that are pricey, not just from housing, but to where you shop. People ask me often, oh, where are the boutiques? My visitors ask, where are the boutiques and where are the places to shop? I can't tell you that because I don't really shop here, not for things that are like, I live here. So for me, it's not like going to a place and wanting to buy an outfit or something that
Right.
represents that place. However, the boutiques in Central are really, really high end, whether it's clothing, jewelry, they have places where an artisan, is like creating certain outfits or things out of leather and things like that, because we're also very close. Well, Leon, which is in the state that we live in, Guanajuato, is the leather capital of Mexico. So, it's kind of, there's certain things that are special to here are going to cost more. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but I do think that you can find a happy medium.
I do too. And I think that the important message here is that people got to get their mind right about what Mexico is and what it ain't. Mexico is not just everything just dirt cheap, like maybe how it was just only a few short years ago. I mean, economies evolve, things change. And like y'all said, they have some pretty penny properties here. And
Oh yeah, here
these are
too.
reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the higher rents? I'm gonna try to turn the light on. I'm listening.
You want what was the penthouse? You can get a penthouse with a private pool overlooking the water for like 4,500.
Yeah, it could be 5,200
Like
too.
Okay, this is US dollars, you guys. Okay, not
Yes.
pesos.
We don't quote
Just want to clarify. We're not talking about pesos. Okay, we're talking to you about US dollars. I think that for sure those are US prices.
Absolutely.
And, yes, that could be considered, a gentrification type thing. But I think people need to also understand, like, you don't have to be at that top end either. There are the options for you to be less. And the same in San Miguel, because I've said that to many people who've said it's expensive. And I'm like, it's expensive if you choose an expensive place. And if you choose expensive places to eat out. I don't know if you get this too, because I get a lot of people who will say it's expensive to go to certain places, but then they're hanging out at expat places all the time.
Exactly.
And I'm just
Absolutely.
like, did you try those tacos up the street?
Come on. Come on.
An $18 margarita.
Listen.
Well, $18. I don't know if I've seen that. Jeez.
No, but what you will see are higher prices in the tourism parts, and
Absolutely.
until you learn to speak un poco español and you go back there to the mercado where they, got the little $7 plates and stuff, you're gonna be spending some money. But there's so many great little finds with the best food, better than the tourism hub spots,
Definitely.
very reasonable.
And things like that. So
Okay. So what expenses do you find surprise new people, newcomers? Because you all also, and, you know, talk a little bit about your relocation services as well, like, you know, what people are experiencing.
Surprising. So,
Like,
Okay.
yeah. I would say the most surprise they get is the electric bill. So they come in and set the
Crank it
thing
on.
on 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you get that $1,000 bill that, you know, it's a little shocking off for it. But
1,000 US,
yeah,
just
1,000.
clarifying, because 1,000 pesos only like $60.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But yeah, electric bill. But other than that, some people probably get shocked if they go to a tourist spot and see the
Mhm.
price and like, I thought it was Mexico. I thought it was supposed to be cheaper. It's like in certain areas, not.
Yeah.
People are also surprised too by the condos. Like if a lot of people want to buy property here, right?
Mhm.
First thing that they say, oh, I want to buy two and I want to do blah, blah, blah. And then when we tell them, okay, that condo right there is 400,000, you're going to,
No financing.
no financing, you know, paper
Yeah,
or plastic,
cash.
what you going to do?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I just think that it's important to know that it's relative, like he said. You may feel like, man, that's too much, but what were you paying back in the States for that?
Right, right.
Getting.
And what were you getting?
So if you can spend $2,000 here for an apartment versus $2,000 anywhere in the United States, are you getting an ocean view? Are you getting a rooftop pool? Are you getting a built-in gym? Are you getting a built-in
A weekly maid, you know?
things like that.
Right,
What's the square
exactly.
feet? One of our clients, we had to help with an apartment recently. So, well, how big is an apartment? Probably like 900 square feet.
You talking about the one that we that was bigger than 900?
So probably like 1,000 square foot
The penthouse?
apartment. Penthouse,
Uh-huh.
yeah. 2 balconies, huge
Mhm.
master bedroom, fully furnished, probably like $1,500 a month. Doesn't have a view. It's not right by the ocean, but you probably couldn't get anything like that anywhere in the United States.
No, no
Oh,
way.
probably
Fully
not.
furnished, brand new refrigerator.
Solar panels,
Solar.
just
Plus you don't have to pay
everything.
electricity, yeah.
Decked out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Relative, and you just have that
Mhm.
open your mindset, like, okay, I'm spending 2,000 here in Houston. What does that same 2,000 get me over there?
Right. I mean, I think the challenge a lot of people have that are not retired yet too is, you know, how can I earn that to even be able to pay that in Mexico? You know, they might be coming on a savings of some sort or whatever. So I think it's still important to get your money right and to also have your numbers right, to have a plan to earn in some capacity if you are not receiving like a steady income from whether pension, Social Security, or, you know, you have your own business or you have a job that is paying you remote and things like that. You know, I've seen plenty of folks that came and they were like, oh, I have 2 or 3 years worth of savings, which actually wasn't quite what they had to, you know, sustain the lifestyle that they thought they could get for that amount. So I think it's important to do this research and also to hire, you know, like the services that you all offer, the services I offer as well. People don't always respect that. I don't know if you run into that, but I say it a lot is my experiences do count for something. And, you know, living here and also seeing other people go through things and also having the resources and connections to get the answers in a faster period of time. And so people should respect and understand, like, you know, getting the help and as much clarity about what to expect really can save you a lot of money in the long run.
Absolutely, especially in this day and time where we have seen historically just so many changes
Mhm.
with residency requirements. Michelle, you're in a lot of these groups and you see these people coming in after they've tried to get approved for residency. You see what it looks like when they get denied. And we see a lot of denials. And if for that reason alone, it's important for you to walk into this with someone who's already knowledgeable, who's been through it, who can point you in the right direction, because there are a lot of little traps. They really, really are. And you have to be careful because this is such a huge life move that it can be very expensive and costly to make these mistakes.
Absolutely.
If you're not in the mood to pay people for their experience, Google is always free.
It's always free.
Oh yeah, it's free and so is YouTube.
Absolutely.
Like this is free. Thanks for coming. Don't forget to hit that like button
Like,
and subscribe. Yeah. And if you want to comment, you have to subscribe. So
I can add one more thing here, though. You
sure.
something that a lot of our clients were going through initially when we first started Melanated in Mexico. Their thing was, hey, I'm having a hard time. Like my bags are packed. I know where I want to live and all that, but I cannot seem to get remote income. And so after hearing this quite a bit, we have developed an arm, a second arm to our business. We started off with the immigration piece of it, right? But that income piece was hanging up a lot of us.
Yeah.
So my background, historically, I've had about 10 plus years of experience with recruiting,
Oh,
specifically
nice.
for remote recruiters. And so
Okay, tell
when I
us.
started to find that gap there, the biggest gap that I'm seeing here is a lot of us have not had to apply for a job in ages, okay? And when we got that last job that we got, the rules were different. Well, now, as we know, there are fewer remote opportunities out there, even less of what I call work from anywhere remote jobs, which really allows you to get up and go to another country. And
Right.
so we started the Remote Insider to start help providing services to help people land a
Excellent.
remote job so they can start working anywhere. And Michelle, people can start their own businesses, but everybody is not an entrepreneur.
Everybody's
That's
not
true. Trust me. You got to be, she's a brick house over here in San Miguel. Okay. Because it's not easy,
It's
but it's
not.
doable. You just have to, again, it goes back to understanding yourself. But tell us how we can get, how the people, the
Yes.
artists can get to your resource that you just mentioned.
Absolutely. If you go over to melanatedinmexico.com, you're going
Okay.
to see all of our resources. We have what we call the income to immigration pipeline, and we have a
Okay.
personal goal of helping 1,000 Black Americans get through that pipeline.
Oh, I
Again,
love it.
securing the paycheck, and then, of course, securing your residency here. So we take you through that full pipeline to ensure
Okay.
that you have a smooth and seamless process.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna type it. Let me get it from the chat, my chat with
the
us.
remoteinsider.com.
Okay, hold on a second. The remote inside. Okay, I'll just type it. And you can also get to it by going to melanatedinmexico.com, right? Okay, remote.
Got a couple of cool tools on there. Work from anywhere assessment scorecard. So if you want to see if you're a good fit for working abroad,
I
if you
love
want to
that.
look at
Okay.
the cost of living, we have a cost of living geo arbitrage calculator that you can plug in your current numbers and then a certain city in Mexico. You can see what you can
Excellent.
save on average as well.
Okay, Zara Babel. I hope I'm saying Zerubbabel said, I'll be counting y'all for remote from anywhere support. I love it. I
Our
think that's
pleasure.
fantastic.
Thank you
I'm glad that you shared that with us because that comes up
all the time.
all the time. And two, I think even if you are someone who has a business, it's still nice to have like multiple ways to earn
Yes.
if you can, yeah, if there's something you can do. What I have found, and I can say this has been the case for I think many people who maybe worked before and then moved to Mexico, but they still have to work, is that we've found so many ways to be creative about making money. And I think culturally we are adopting a lot of the way the locals work, because I find that a lot of locals will do a lot to
Mhm.
make income, whether it's, a little bit of this on the weekends, or, this is what I do during the week, or I have 3 days where I do this and 3 days where I do that. Even like with men, they've always having like multiple different things that they are involved in, not just their jobs and stuff like that. When I say men, I'm talking about the locals. I find
Sure.
that a lot of them are like handymen, but then if you need them to help you move, like people would just make themselves useful so they can earn money. And I
Absolutely.
think that right, we're kind of, I think, used to having it be a bit easier, where you apply for a job and you get your check and you get your benefits and all this stuff. And if you work corporate, and I used to work corporate a long time ago. So both ends exist. So I want people to also understand, like, you can check out remoteinsiders.com, but also if there's some other skill set you have, it's easy to start something here.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of red tape. I mean, you still need to be legal. You still have to, if you're earning Mexican pesos, then you should still file for a business and make your tax, pay your taxes and stuff. But I don't think you need as many things to start. Let's say if you wanted to open a little, restaurant or something, it's much easier to get a license. And
Absolutely. We've seen
yeah.
plenty of brothers and sisters start things. Oh,
Yeah.
good friend, he has a villa here,
Yeah.
We've
Mhm.
Restaurants, people have restaurants.
cafe,
Yeah,
You're right. It can be done.
hairstyle.
absolutely.
All it
Yeah,
needs is stylists.
Hairstylists are so needed.
that part, girl. Yes, I've been saying that.
I'm doing a tour in Mexico.
Come on.
Sweep up. Now, the legitimacy and how y'all pay taxes, that's when you're in the government.
Yeah, that's between y'all.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I think that people are not like that's not what they're accustomed to, so it feels intimidating, but it really is not that complicated to do, you know. Yeah, I think people need to understand that a little bit more. Let's see, good advice. I worked with a facilitator to get my residency. When I finally make the move in the next year, I'm going to work with someone because I know what I don't know. I know what I don't know. Like,
Right.
yes, I hope I said that right. Yeah, I advise it. And over the years, I've experienced, like I said, a lot of folks who had the struggles. And, I've gotten to a place where I'm just kind of like, I just sit back, if I'm here if you need help and things like that. Same for you all. I think that it is beneficial um, to try to connect with people who have the experience and they're also going to maybe connect you with other people who are experts as realtors. I don't know if you've had clients that maybe use some of your services but didn't use maybe all of your services, and I know real estate is always something to be mindful of because there can be challenges and struggles on like who are you renting from, things like this, like, don't do sight unseen. I've seen it all. And, people are just like, I signed a lease and I'm like, but you didn't actually see the place. That's crazy. Would you do that in the US? I guess I don't know. That's just crazy to me, period. But it happens. It has
It
happened.
does.
Yeah. And, I think it's more complicated here to fix those kind of
Oh,
issues.
yes.
Takes longer
Oh,
and to get your
yes.
money back. Yeah.
Please get professional help.
Please leave it to the pros. You can do it DIY if you want to, but just know that
Wouldn't recommend.
I wouldn't
Wouldn't
recommend.
recommend real estate. I wouldn't recommend getting your residency without a facilitator or a consultant. So get you a
Right.
consultant, have a vetted facilitator on their team that they can introduce you to, because
Right.
through that process by yourself is good luck. God bless you.
He started off as a DIY
Yeah.
project and was like, ah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
Google free, but then I was like, I see why it's free. You get what you pay for.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think that's a good point for sure. Yeah, it's your interpretation versus what could be something different. For someone with a fixed, I think it's one of my last questions too. Let's see. Okay, well, before I get to that, someone wanted to know, like, what's the comparison between, well, Puerto Vallarta and San Miguel. I think both are popular places, popular destinations, for different reasons. I think if you are somebody who really, really wants to be by water, Puerto Vallarta is a great option, as you all are talking about the conveniences, the language. I mean, these are all challenges I think you'll experience all around Mexico, but it's going to be way more difficult in places that are even Mexico City. Okay, Mexico City is a big city. It's moving. People are city people. They're not so much like, oh, your car broke down, let me stop at the side of the road and help. You can ask for help and you'll get it, but it may not be the same return or experience you'll get in some other places, like maybe a PV where they're used to seeing more foreigners. Not that they only help foreigners. I'm just saying
Sure.
that the vibe is going to be a little bit more, maybe a little more attention to what's going. Yeah, exactly. Same here in San Miguel. But I think the costs are kind of similar. Our high end could also be up to 4,500.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know someone who rented a place that was pretty expensive. I think it was 3-story, like a townhouse, and it was fully furnished, really nice, and all the things, and in a development that honestly I would have advised against, you know. But I didn't know that that's where they were looking and ended up. But those are things too that realtor's not going to say to you, and someone you speak to that might be able to say, oh no, I know other people who've tried to rent in those places and they were, the construction's so. It looks good, but the construction's not so great. Things like this. But cost of living, it feels like it's somewhat similar here. I think our rent ranges definitely can be around 500. I know people who in the past years, because I came here 8 years ago, they paid 350, maybe 400, and it's more, but depends on where you are. It's tiny, tiny. It might be fully furnished. It's not going to be, it's not going to be luxury at all. But it's still pretty decent if you know who you are and what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. I think that there's a nice wide range. And as you said, where you choose to eat out, where you choose to shop. Like, for example, shopping at the markets versus, I don't know, do you guys have city market over there?
Is that like an outdoor market? We have outdoor markets, not sure.
No, here it's owned by La Camere, but it's like a gourmet grocery store. So they opened it 3 or 4 years ago. And it's right kind of almost across the street from La Camere. But the point is that you can choose to go there, or we can choose to go to the, like you said, the outdoor market, which is where I
Yeah.
go, get my seafood and fruits and stuff.
Yes.
So I think the range is similar. I think places such as like a Guadalajara, Mexico City is definitely getting more expensive, but I think you can still find places that are going to be way more affordable to eat. Like I find Mexico City less expensive to eat and Ubers and all that than way less than San Miguel. And it tastes better. Sorry, San Miguel. Yeah. I don't know. How's the food scene for you all?
We love
Delicious.
it. Oh my
Love it.
gosh.
Haven't had a
Oh
bad
my
meal
gosh.
here, local or tourist travel.
Seafood is very big around here
yeah.
because we're right here on the water.
Ocean to table.
Yeah.
Ocean to table, as we like to call it.
Mhm.
Just so flavorful.
Yeah.
Snapper is a
Red
big
snapper,
deal around here.
yeah.
Red
Yeah.
snapper
I
deal.
love snapper.
Tuna's huge here.
Mhm.
Shrimp is way massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really, if
Okay.
you get like if you go to a local spot, we can
Mhm.
pay maybe $8 US per person. We go to
Oh,
a spot, we're looking at $13 to $15 per person.
nice. And what would a high-end meal look like for one?
We went to one
Like,
it looks like a local just Mexican restaurant, but when they bring the plate of food out, it's
Nicely
like
plated.
it's plated with the decor. It's like
mm,
we had a bacon wrapped red snapper with
interesting.
Ghiblis. It was like $15 a person, something like that. It
That's
looked
still
like
not bad.
it looked
Okay.
like a gourmet meal the way they presented, but you was outside,
Okay.
it was, some
Okay.
chip on the tables.
That's not bad at all. Because like I think here, like some of the high-end places that I like, and I know that the food's going to be really good. Um, if I go with my kiddo and we get like sometimes I'll be like, don't even order an appetizer. You can get a drink, you can get a dish, an entree. Um, and between the two of us, if we got two entrees, I got a glass of wine, water, and he gets his whatever, it could be like $70, $75. So I would say per person, yeah, you're like 30, 35 for,
We can
something.
definitely climb up. La Cliff,
Yeah.
it
Don't worry
can,
about it.
hey,
We went to a popular restaurant out here, La Dolce. It's Italian.
Mhm.
I think it was four of us,
five.
five
One,
of
two,
us
three,
on,
five.
yeah. So I think they were pizza. I had pasta. He had salmon.
I had a pizza,
And with calamari,
wine,
a whole bottle of wine,
dessert.
dessert. I
Mhm.
feel like that bill total for all of us like 150,
Yep.
170.
And it blew
US
his
dollars.
mind. It was a client. He was like, wait a minute now, all five of us, only 150. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck? So
The bottle
Yeah.
of wine back in the States would have been 80 by itself. But,
easy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually way more affordable than San Miguel for sure. I won't say our drinks yeah. I think that overall, if you go to a high-end place, uh, yeah, it's going to be at least 30, 35 per person, maybe a little bit, maybe a little more. It just all depends on what you get. But I
Yeah.
find that my pesos are about 12 to 1500 when it's just me and my son. And, alcohol cost more and things like this. But when I'm in Mexico City, I find that I can go to high-end restaurants and it's a little less expensive than here. And it sounds like PV is also, like for the amount of food that you're getting as well, is still very affordable. So that's good. And it's still very affordable here in San Miguel, but again, we're comparing costs.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What do you think? Okay, let's see. Got a bunch of questions. Let's see. San Miguel high-end rooftop restaurants. We spent 150 for drinks and 3 courses. Another local rooftop restaurant was $40 with drinks and leftovers. Yeah. Yeah. There's a huge difference. And also there's a difference in, I think, the taste of certain things. I find here there are a lot of beautiful rooftops, a lot of rooftop restaurants with amazing views and stuff of the city. The food doesn't always live up to the place, the way it looks and the experience or the service and things like that. It's not bad, but I feel that it's kind of like going to, let's say, a place in Italy. It's very touristy, so the restaurant doesn't have to be grand. It's something good. It's
Right.
just kind of like it's mediocre.
You need to meet the moment.
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
he doesn't.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Someone said Uber is incredibly affordable. Yes, it is here. I don't know if you all, I assume you use Uber as well, PV.
Around
Okay.
$5 one way, $6 with tip, and that's to the other town. So
Yeah. Versailles neighborhood in Puerto Vallarta has excellent restaurants. Are you
it's
familiar with Versailles? Okay.
the foodie
Yes.
hub,
Yep.
yeah, foodie hub.
People love
Or
it.
is it Versailles or Versailles?
Versailles.
Versailles. Okay. So I think it's spelled the same as the place in France. In France, right? Versailles. Okay. Let's see what else. I saw one of your videos with you all eating out, and she said the food looks so good, especially the snapper. She said, I forgot what you had, CC.
Me too. I forgot, but it was probably snapper too, or pizza. I'm good for a pizza.
Oh, yeah. I think it might have been, yeah, she said it was snapper.
Yeah, that sounds about
That's
right.
from Lisa Love. Yeah, I love snapper. That's like one of our official dishes in Jamaica. So I'm happy to have access to it at a very affordable amount. So one of my clients, she moved up the street, a couple blocks up, and some guy came to fix something in her house. Like I said, multiple jobs or businesses, probably call it business. And she said he also sells seafood on certain days of the week. And I was like, oh, so I said, well, let me know when he comes back because she told me she was getting some snapper. So the day he came by, a few days later, it was him and his son, little pickup truck, big cooler, and his snapper. And I said, oh, tell him to come by. And he came, he had 6 left. He cleaned them outside. I told him to clean across the street. This is like construction over there. And he cleaned them outside, weighed them, took all the little snippets and whatever. I think I got 6 snappers for like less than 300 pesos,
My
which is
goodness.
so, yes. So
Like
let me,
$18.
Oh my
right,
God.
18. I was just gonna say, translate. That's like under less than $20. Because someone made a comment that snapper is $35 to $45 in Phoenix, maybe for one or a dinner, maybe a snapper dinner. Yeah. So yeah,
We go to the market, we can get, I usually get 3.5 pounds of ground chicken, onions, cucumbers, avocados, grapes, dates, garlic, spinach, carrots, zucchini, tang. They got tang here. Big
dang,
jar of garlic.
okay.
All of that, I'm probably spending 55 US dollars.
Mhm.
And that's enough to
And that's
definitely
a
get you through the week.
Counter full of food. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you end up buying that much because you're just like, oh, it looks so fresh and beautiful. And then you're like scooping it all up. But, I will say that it doesn't last as long because it has less preservatives and pesticides. So
Oh,
yeah, you got to have a plan for
yes, you
your
do, because
ready.
Absolutely.
it will
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah, literally like 2 or 3 days, the zucchini start and the
Yep.
not squash, zucchini and carrots start looking crazy.
Yes, you're so
Yes.
right. I'm so glad you brought up that point, because I was like, "What did we just buy this the
Yeah.
other day?"
I'm used to
Yeah,
maybe lasting a week or two.
exactly.
What happened to my
For
bill?
real.
Whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to eat. Even with the some of the baked things, like if you go to a bakery, those baked goods are going to last probably like 2 or 3 days without being in the refrigerator before they start getting moldy. And also depends on where you are. I think in warmer climates, you're going to have things kind of, not lasting as long. So, good tidbits. For someone on a fixed income, this is the last question, or retirement budget, what financial mistakes should they avoid before making a move? What do you think?
You know what?
Huh.
If they're on a fixed income,
Mhm.
I
I would say
really,
research everything.
you want to research to the nth degree, but the biggest thing is whatever you think you can afford, knock off like 500 to 1,000 off of that. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you think, oh, I can afford a $2,000 apartment, get you a $1,000 apartment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Life happens still, even when you're in paradise. So you always want to scale back as much as you can, like try to get that number down even further. So, because like you said, somebody said that they had 2 to 3 years worth of,
Yeah.
savings, and that thing was gone
But it's
month five,
doable
Yeah.
because it's a retirement haven. So
It is, it is. I'm
Right.
glad
tens
you
of
brought that
thousands
up.
of people live here, specifically in PB, with retirement savings. So they're all pretty much on fixed income. So
Right.
I think it's really just researching as much as you can.
Have a good
Do
budget.
a scouting trip, look at gas for bills. Like, hey, if I stay in this apartment during this month, what's the electric bill going to look like for the next 3 months?
Mhm.
Outside of electric, you really don't have many chances to get surprised. Your rent's going to be fixed. The Uber is going to be fixed. Your groceries going to be fixed for the most part. It's just an electric bill, maybe a cell phone bill that might surprise you. But other than that,
Right. And here in Mexico, Michelle, you know this, you can get a lease for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months,
yes,
however long
Yeah.
you want it to be. But if you're looking to save a little bit more, when you get that 12-month lease, you usually get a better deal because you're saying you want to stay longer. So I
Right.
always try to negotiate terms to where, you can lock in that rate for at least a year, maybe two. That'd be
Yeah.
lovely. Of course, rent
Yeah.
goes up.
yeah,
Um, but budget, whatever that budget is, and you can use our geo arbitrage calculator to give you a real
Mhm.
good indicator, but
Mhm.
try to really stick to that by going below the budget as much
Yes.
as possible.
Yes.
That's what.
Definitely. And another experience I've personally had too is remember that you're working with exchange rates and those really fluctuate sometimes depending on what's happening in the world. I remember getting, and I've shared the story before, I remember getting, I'll copy that into the group in a second, getting a place because I was like, oh, okay, this is, less than I expected. And I didn't need that much space, but it was kind of within my budget. It was still a little farther out. And there were two factors that I knew could play a factor, but I didn't pay like a whole lot of attention to. And one was the exchange rate.
Mm,
So while I lived there, it went from, 1 to 18 to 19 or 20, all the way down to like 16. And therefore, what happens? Your rent's more, right? If you're not necessarily paying in US dollars, but you're getting paid in US dollars. So you still have to convert that money to pesos so that you can pay. And then, suddenly your rent might be an additional $100 or $50 or $60 or whatever. And that might, for fixed income, that might really hurt you. So you
mm,
have to really consider that as well. Um, the second part, I totally went out my brain. It was that and uh, gosh, I forgot. Oh, I wanted to also say if you do get a longer lease, you can then sometimes lock in a better rate
mm,
because the landlord will be more like I've had clients where I assisted them. I said, okay, well, if you are for sure, you want to be there for like, let's say 2 years, yeah, request a 2 year. I've done that. And that's what I wanted to make the point about. I asked that same place, that landlord, can I do 2 years and stay at this bottom rate for those 2 years rather than going up in a year from now. Always ask because things are way more negotiable here than elsewhere. And I don't mean it in the sense of, go to every single transaction bargaining like people in the market. I do not bargain with people in the market at all. I've done it in the past in other travels, but I've just kind of gotten to a place where I'm like, your cost is your cost. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, well, whatever. I may say, is that your best offer? But I'm not gonna like tug of war back and forth because I
Right.
also don't want to disrespect people's, what they feel. Even if it's off, usually what I'll do is just say no, thank you. And if they know they want to get a sale, they might come and say blah blah. Sometimes they may not. And I'm okay with that. Like I've had people, I'm sure, look at me and say, she's a foreigner. I've asked for as simple as the honey packs, the honey that they sell at the markets, the big ones, the quart size. And 1 week it'll be 180 pesos or 200 and something, depending on who I'm talking to. But then there's someone else that I may talk to and it's 120,
Mhm.
And so you just have to ask and you kind of need to know and try and just understand too, like you eventually you will get ripped off by somebody and it's
It's
just gonna happen. It's inevitable,
It's
right?
inevitable.
It's called
capitalism.
gringo tax, as they say.
That's it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think the things to avoid would definitely be the cost and not being at the top of your budget.
Yes.
And if you have utilities to pay for, like if there's like a fixed amount, I think that that's okay. That's like good. But you really need to consider those factors because that could break the bank, especially, if you're like kind of right there and you
Mhm.
like to go out and you like to do things, just kind of like,
$15 margaritas.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, two for
But your
one.
housing is usually your biggest
Yeah.
expense. You can't do much negotiation on healthcare. That ain't gonna be nothing. That's just gonna be locked, period. It's gonna
Yeah.
be that,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
housing.
Yeah. And also, I will say this for those applying for immigration, you all posted some new status. I know the numbers too, but people also need to understand that that keeps going up every year. So I think now, isn't it like around 3,000 US dollars? Is
Uh,
it?
for the temporary
For
residency,
temporary,
Or how much is
it's
it
about six
for
fifty, give or take.
you talking about the fees?
Yeah, the
Yeah, about
fees, yeah.
650.
the month? Okay, so to qualify though, it's like
Oh,
Oh, to
4,000.
qualify,
4,400.
yeah.
Oh, so for
4,300. Sorry.
temporary,
Yes.
go ahead and
Uh-huh.
talk. You got it.
Yeah, so for temporary, it's a or thing. So you need to show you their average around 4,400 a month for 6 consecutive months, and that's net,
Mhm.
or so that you have approximately 75,000 in some type of financial account for 12 consecutive months. It can be
Okay.
anything that the savings route can be anything except for crypto. So savings,
Okay.
checking, Roth IRA, pension, 401k.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
with the 6 months though, you need to show that that's 6 consecutive months. So I'm glad you brought this up because we talked to people about hurrying up and getting your residency now while you qualify, while you meet the requirements, because you never know what tomorrow may hold. They may just randomly have an increase. They may have a moratorium. You may not have your job tomorrow. So if you
Right.
break that 6 months straight of paychecks and you're out of work for 3 months, that clock
Mhm.
starts over. If you have to dip into your savings to live because you're out of work or something happened to a family member, now you're disqualified. You have to wait so you can rebuild that up. So get it now, go back to the United States, live your life, and then once you're ready to move, then you can
Right.
activate the card. But get your card
Exactly.
now while you qualify instead of waiting. And it's like, oh man, they went up, or I don't qualify, or whatever.
A lot of people think that you have to, if you get your card, then you have to be ready to move here. And there are some
Yeah.
countries that have requirements on how long you must be there throughout the year. But fortunately,
Mhm.
at the time of this recording, Mexico does not have that requirement. So again, like you
Right.
said, before they go changing up, because remember the R&E program,
Mhm.
Michelle,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people could just come in and just,
Hmm.
yeah, things
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah, they do. And that was actually a very unique offer. And I think that they put it together because they wanted people that were in the country to register that kind of got stuck here during COVID. People who didn't live here took advantage of it as well. I think because their infrastructure is so like, not great, that a lot of people took advantage of that. But then, when the elections and the new admin took over last year, suddenly everyone was just like trying to figure out how can I get to Mexico and this, that, and that. And it was one day almost to the next gone. Like they were just like, nope. People were like, but I have an appointment, I have a flight. They don't care. Okay. So what I will say about Mexico, and I say it all the time, the only thing that's consistent is that it's inconsistent. So if we want to get our residency, like you said, do it while you have your job, your work. You can actually still do that now. Some places, yeah, they might interrogate you a little more. They may have some different requirements. Each consulate operates independently. Yes, they kind of have a general, rule or protocol, but I will clarify this, and I've said this before too. The Mexican consulate is not there for you to get your residency. They are there for their Mexican citizens, okay? Period, end of story. They're such a small percent of what they do for us is a small percentage of the work that they have every day. So each of them are going to be inconsistent. Because I used to be like, how come it's this number over here? How come this one asked for this or whatever? And I interviewed a gentleman years ago, a couple years ago, and he's an immigration attorney in Mexico City. And he's like, we ain't here for y'all. He was like, it's such a small, and that's the first time it really hit me. And then he was just like, they all operate independently practically. So the point of saying that is that it's a good idea if you know, or you even really are strongly considering living here or anywhere else, go ahead and apply, see what the rules are, do the research, get the help and stuff like that. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
There is no worse feeling than getting told, I'm sorry, but no, you can't for whatever reason anymore.
Yeah.
If I may, real quick, just to educate the audience, because we get this a lot with our clients, even after they hire us, like, could you explain to me what Mexican residency is? It's like, well, you already paid me, but okay.
Yeah.
So quick and dirty. Essentially, it's a permission slip. If you want to live here legally and come and go as you please, you need residency. It does not mean announce your citizenship. You're still a U.S. citizen. You still have a blue passport. The main thing it doesn't allow you to do is vote and get a Mexican passport. Other than that, getting Mexican residency allows you to come and go as you please, get insurance, start a business, work here, pay taxes, and the utilities in your name. Other than that, if you don't get that residency, you can only come down here for 6 months, do a border hop, which now they're cracking down on. People are getting 7 days, 30 days, 90 days. And if you got a 12-month lease, you border hop at 6 months and they tell you only got 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You better get you a Mexican bay.
Hey, hey,
Just saying.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for the last couple of shows. I'm like, get you a Mexican boo. Yeah, but yeah, no, this has been super helpful, informative. I hope that the audience has enjoyed the details. I mean, there's so much more to learn. We're doing similar things in different parts of Mexico. I always encourage people, like check out the people that are there to help, check out the experiences they've had already. You're probably going to go through your share of errors and mistakes and things like that, but use the services and the advice to help you figure it out. And like you said, Google is free, YouTube's free, all the things. But if you're really serious about having better success, get the help. And I also want to say this again, being here for forever feels like, is don't forget that it's not just about your house and where you live and all that other stuff. It's everything, okay? And once the dust settles in that new house, you're going to be with you and your family or just with you and all of those things. So I always tell people like, anticipate that you will have emotional moments and, things that make you feel unstable, things that throw you off. I've been here for over 8 years. There's still days that throw me off. And it's not so much a homesickness. It's just, I get tired. I'd be like, so sick of this. Or I get tired sometimes, even of just trying to always understand, right? Always making sure I'm clear, making sure like, I get tired and exhausted and I don't realize how tired and exhausted I am from that. Although I still love it here, would not change a thing until I go back to somewhere where I can just speak like this and I'm understood clearly and I can order off the menu. It's almost like it's just weird. It's like a part of my brain that I have to switch off and on. Like, for example, my son and I traveled in December, and because it was another foreign language, I kept saying stuff in Spanish. And I was like, wait a minute, we're no longer in Mexico, but it wasn't English either. And it was just like my brain, like you're so accustomed to just trying to make it. And so give yourself grace. That's what I like to
Yes.
tell people. Give yourself grace. Yeah.
And
You,
enjoy the ride. It's a
yeah.
new, different, unique experience.
Yeah.
Don't try to compare it to what it was back home. You're
Because
not back
this
home.
ain't home. So don't come over here talking about they do it like this back in the United States. This ain't how we do it back home. This
Exactly. Exactly, exactly, exactly. So, as I said, they offer the same services similar. You can find them melanatedinmexico.com. If you're interested in San Miguel, you can find me at casaelm.com, which is Expat Life Mexico abbreviated. And, we are here to help. Tell me a little bit about your tours and I'll talk briefly about mine and then we'll wrap this up. I'm supposed to be going to this thing. I told you, I don't know.
is where to
I
go.
don't want to make it.
Well,
Well, I'm just, yeah, I
I-
didn't say that out loud.
We can be real quick.
yeah,
I
we'll
got
be
it.
real quick. Go ahead.
So we host flying trials. So basically, it's a immersive experience where you come in for a day,
Mhm,
and with our tour guide and driver, we drive you around, show you different neighborhoods, different
mhm,
apartments.
mhm,
We introduce you to our healthcare team, so our healthcare facilitator. We introduce you to our health insurance broker, take you to the
mhm.
market, show you where to shop, and then give you a tour of the city. So it's really an immersive situation where you're not on a resort. You're getting to live like a local, and we can
Yes,
actually connect you to the resources that will help you have, like you say, soft land.
Yes.
exactly. And that's important. Very similar. Yeah, I offer very, very much the similar services where people come, they get to get connected immediately with the expat community. I call it expat, foreigners, immigrants, whatever,
Oh,
community, the resources that we have, healthcare. We do tours of the hospitals locally so that people can really see what those facilities look like, and they're always impressed.
yes.
They're actually very impressive. We've gone to several of them, connecting with immigration specialists, Q&A sessions and things like that. Same real estate neighborhood tours, actual, get to see homes, etc., but also doing cultural tours so that people can understand the norms and etiquette. And also, just going out and like experiencing the market and things like this. So we're in different parts of Mexico, but if you're not sure, I think it's worth doing a program like that to make sure that you're making a more informed decision. And also, I always say listen to your intuition, what it feels like to you in those places, not just walking into the house. Yes, the neighborhood's important. Yes, the house is important because that's where you live. But how do you really feel in those initial days and weeks, and making sure you're like in tune with that? How does that make you feel as well? So those are the experiences that I think really will help. Yeah. So you all are so welcome. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button. Thank you so much, CC and Tristan, for being here tonight. Melanatedinmexico.com. Someone said that this was an extremely informative conversation and they'll be reaching out to you all soon. Excellent. So I really, really appreciate you all being on and sharing your advice, your experiences, your business, and all the things. And yeah, you guys get connected. Like, yeah, get connected with us.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to say before we
Had a
go?
lot of fun with you guys tonight. And
Yes.
again, Mexico has so much to offer. It is definitely worth giving it a go. And don't be so afraid of getting it wrong the first time with the city. Stay there for a little bit, go off and explore. It's a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When I
Don't be
run up, I
scared.
have.
That's right. All right. Thanks, guys. Hold on a sec. Ciao. Have a good night, everyone. Okay, it has like a delay. I don't know if you
Oh.
experienced that.
No
No
problem.
worries.
Yeah, there's